Welcome everyone to today's distinguished webinar series on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Today's talk is Explainability for Enhancing Trustworthiness of Artificial Intelligence-Based Medical Applications from Diagnosis to Drug Discovery Research, featuring Dr. Utku Kose, Research Associate at the University of North Dakota and Associate Professor at Suleyman Demirel University. Dr. Utku Kose received his bachelor's degree in 2008 from Computer Education of Gazi University, Turkey. As a faculty valedictorian, he received his master's degree in 2010 from Afyon Kocatepe University, Turkey, in the field of computer engineering, and PhD degree in 2017 from Selcuk University, Turkey, in the field of computer engineering. Currently, he's a research associate at the University of North Dakota and associate professor in Suleyman Demirel University, Turkey. He has more than 300 publications, including articles, authored and edited books, proceedings, and reports. He's also an editorial boards of many scientific journals and serves as one of the editors of the Biomedical and Robotics Healthcare CRC Press and Computational Modeling Applications for Existential Risks, Elsevier book series. His research interests include artificial intelligence, machine ethics, artificial intelligence safety, biomedical applications, optimization, chaos theory, distance education, e-learning, computer education, and computer science. He's a senior member of IEEE and a professional member of ACM. Dr. Utku, it's a pleasure to have you. And with that, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you very much, dear Jameson. I'd like to appreciate dear Dr. Prakash Ranganathan's and C2SR's kind invitation, and for the kind the introduction by Jameson Jangula. And let me to share my desktop screen. First of all, I'd also welcome to all the dear participants. I hope you will enjoy my session today. Yes, I think my presentation is all visible now. As Jameson also indicated, that I will be focusing on that the explainability aspects. I think you are all guys are hearing about these concepts from that all of that the literature works. And we can be saying that the explainability, interpretability, even, and XAI actually is a very popular topic nowadays. So I will be forwarding my general the presentation to the enhancing trustworthiness of AI by considering the medical applications, and is based on my some of that the recent research works. I will be giving you some important points about that. What is that XAI concepts, and what are the important things in terms of that functional and the characteristics manner when we talk about that the possible applications, not only maybe for the medical applications, but for also thinking about the all of the different fields covering that all of these technological things and the chaos, as you know, happening in terms of that's the especially deep learning, I mean. So I hope you will be all enjoying all the session at this point. I will be just giving the short introduction first of all, and after that I'll be also talking about briefly what is that the meaning of the XAI, and I will be talking about some of the foremost methodologies associated with that and XAI solutions nowadays we are widely applying in terms of that scientific works. And I will be talking about some of the examples of the remarkable publications in terms of the XAI for the medical problems in detail. And my presentation will be ended by that and discussions about that, the research potentials, some suggestions, and of course at the final I will take in all of your valuable questions. Yes. As you know, the AI has an effective role in terms of that and advancing the medical applications. So we already know that then it has even a very strong relation when we look at back to the first appearance of that technological field around the 1940s, for example. So it has a very long past time period when we think about that strong relation between the AI and the medical problems. So talking about today, we may be just indicating some problems such as diagnosis, diagnosis of disease, and also treatment plannings or genetics and even drug discovery. Also thinking about the COVID-19 time period, it has just all caused and an exponential increase in terms of the importance of the drug discovery with AI, of course. These are all popular and the trend application sides of the AI and medical problems relation. So today we apply or use different kinds of machine learning and deep learning techniques to build some models and to ensure some improved outcomes, of course. So these all can lead doctors or medical staff, healthcare staff to reach to true decision making at the final. But in time, as you know, the complexity and the challenging characteristics of the problems are increasing in especially that current century. We all know that we need more robust and advanced formations of the AI-based systems to deal with the latest problems of medical domain. So we increase the AI components to increase the accuracies, to increase the success rates, and even we use the deep learning, as you know, as the new era of the machine learning. Although we are just reaching to the end of the first quarter of the current century, we all accept that the DL era is just all affecting to all the literature of the AI and bringing many breathtaking outcomes, as you know, considering that all of these things happening around the generative AI, especially, as you know, nowadays. So we have more components to understand. So all of these components are actually causing that the recent models to become somehow black box systems. So in black box AI, we do not have total control over the system. Actually, we don't understand very well in terms of how the bridge between the input data and the outcomes are built in that the training aspects, especially talking about the machine and deep learning side. So also it cannot be easy to detect any bias or issues in terms of the data we are using, or anomalies of the inferencing issues are happening inside all of these mechanisms. So in such situation, the level of the trustworthiness for that AI is questionable. So we need some of somehow different solution ways to make such black box systems, maybe like gray level, or maybe total white box systems which are transparent enough to control their mechanisms, to track their mechanisms in terms of the input and output relation making. So in order to deal with such problems, the state of the art, the literature has been working on developing different methodologies, and so actually it's not a very new concept when we just think about that root in terms of this area. But we know that then XAI, the explainability of AI and explainable AI is just tries to provide some effective solutions methodologies to ensure that the desired level of the trustworthiness and the control, human control over the latest advanced AI-based systems. So when we think about the appeal of the XAI, dear friends, actually we should be talking about the research orientation, so which happened or which has been happening in terms of the interpretable AI. So as you can see, we are all talking about the machine learning and deep learning aspects, not to go into the swarm intelligence or intelligent optimization. But of course, so these are all questionable, some other sub areas of the AI, but we all have enough control about that somehow the interpretability reaching to the interpretable level of that intelligent optimization or other things. And actually, as you know, that the machine learning and deep learning is all connected to the optimization process. So the thing is just we need to ensuring an XAI or interpretable AI is connected to the machine and deep learning. So just giving us a simple technique, a simple example of a technique, linear regression. We all know that it all has then some independent variables, independent things, which we are just using here as in terms of the data samples to be reaching to a dependent value, dependent variable values at the final stage in terms of the supervised learning. We also have the residuals, of course, and we maybe have intercepts here at the final stage of the training phase, for example. So it's easy to interpret, actually. We can just take a look at the related coefficients affecting the x1 or the other coefficients affecting the xp, x2, x3. It all goes until all of these different features, I mean. So by just taking a look at all of these coefficients, we are all able to have enough idea about which variable has more importance or more effect in determining or predicting the dependent variable on the left side of this equation. So it is interpretability, actually. So we all know about that. The interpretability is just all alive in the traditional simple machine learning techniques in the past. When we apply these techniques or the designed models for the known problems in the past time. Of course, you can be using all of these techniques nowadays, but the more difficult problems, the increasing problem difficulties caused the leaving such techniques or just using them as some additional or some pre-application in terms of the pre-application aspects in your more advanced the machine learning problems, of course. So the increased problem difficulties caused such techniques to be used in, for example, hybrid models, like thinking about an artificial neural network, a multi-layer perceptron model, which was trained by genetic algorithms or with the backpropagation algorithm as default mode, as you know. So the more difficulties we are just faced in terms of the problems caused hybrid models or more advanced techniques like neural networks. And at the final, looking back to the starting point of the deep learning era, we are all using more advanced formations of the neural networks. For now, I believe that there will be more different types of, except from the neural networks, maybe there will be different kinds of techniques in terms of the deep learning in the future. But we know that all of these hybrid models or deep learning models are somehow black box models which cannot be interpreted directly. We don't have enough capabilities in terms of using some parameters to be saying that yes, these values are making the connection with the input and the outcomes. So we can be saying that yes, you can use these parameters from the neural network or from that hybrid model to be saying that yes, this feature one is all having a somehow blah weight value to be reaching to, and that's the outcome of that's whatever this the classification problem at this point. So especially deep learning era introduced techniques with many more parameters. Just think about the hyperparameter optimization. We need such methodologies, different methodologies to have some efforts to reach to some successful outcomes in terms of even building the exact architecture of the deep learning model to ensure better outcomes in our target problem, maybe a medical diagnosis of a disease, for example. So XAI here has been a specific research area which is expanding that interpretability with additional methodologies. So it just deals with designing and integrating the additional methodologies for improving the explainability over the developed AI-based systems in this way. So there are different types of methodologies. You need to examine or track that and associated literature in terms of understanding more about which methodologies affects how our target models to understand more about the general flow of the literature, of course. but I will be giving some knowledge and some I believe that you will be all understanding the essentials from the information I will be giving in the next slides about some essential methodologies. I mean, so it will be a good point to start and to understand the later slides in terms of the medical applications talking about the XAI. And of course, the exact point will be that then enhancing the trustworthiness when we think about human factor and the cybersecurity of the applications and specifically medical applications, of course, different. So it's the exact point. The XAI is the exact point, like we are transforming from the machine learning to the deep learning era. We are just bringing ourselves to the standpoint of the explainability when we advance the capabilities of the interpretability. So in this context, we can be saying that even that literature has a connection when we think about the general flow of the publications in terms of the keywords or the other conceptual reviews in years. We can be seeing that the intensity of the interpretable AI just leaves its place to an XAI or explainable AI in time. It's just looking to the end 2019, of course, but when we take a look at that's very recent, maybe research works, and the studies done in this manner, we can be seeing that then XAI is the newest concept, which is just all having a place instead of the interpretable AI. But you will all see soon that then exactly like we are doing for the machine learning to advance it further to the deep learning, we are actually just playing with some interpretability aspects in detail to advance them to the level of the explainability, which is just a new concept maybe to understand whatever we desire in terms of the trustworthiness and enough things, I mean, to understand the connections between the input data and the outcomes or output data. So, for example, when we think that an explainability as an exchanging factor with accuracy, by taking a look at a simple view, we can be seeing that then especially traditional machine learning models like that linear regression, logistic regression, or decision trees, KNN, or other things are just having lower need for explainability, which means we are all having enough control in terms of these techniques to be understanding how the input and output relations are built during the training phase, but they have lower accuracy in terms of predictions, of course. When we try to increase the accuracy, as you can see, thanks to deep learning models, we just all ensure that a lower explainability, as you can see. So that means that we need some additional efforts or solutions to improve the level of the explainability of such deep learning models to make them human compatible, at least for our human-based perspective. Actually, this is somehow our limitations. We can just say that the less you have some parameters in terms of the machine learning aspects, the more you have enough control in terms of understanding the exact relations between input and output data, as you know. But the more parameters we have, the more parameters which are mixed or manipulated enough in terms of specific neural network model, for example, the less we become compatible enough to understand the exact connections in terms of mathematical or logical equations, I mean, when we think about our own capabilities. I don't know, maybe the things that these are all happening in terms of the neuroscience and the brain-computer interface things, maybe all will be allowing our capabilities in terms of understanding the all complex things happening in terms of these technological tools to understand enough about that interpretability in terms of complex parameters, but this looks like a science fiction thing. But as you know, that many things in terms of the past science fiction novels or other things are exactly happening nowadays. And there's an exponential growth in terms of the AI sites and talking about the technological tools. So let's see. I don't know. We will all see what's the feature of that. All of these things happening in terms of the explainability side, in terms of the generative AI, will be all bringing to us as the humankind. So this is another story. I mean, we will all see these things. So looking back to that figure, as you can see, there's an exchange between the explainability level or requirements for ensuring some explainability solutions and the level of the prediction accuracy when we think about that increased number of the parameters and the introduced more advanced techniques in terms of machine learning and deep learning side. Like talking about the hybrid models, you can be thinking about the ensemble models, or you can be thinking about the graphical models. Here they are having somehow a the place in the middle, as you can see. Somehow we have some statistical models. We can be using the statistics in this context, but we still need somehow the explainability. These are just the latest points just before passing to the deep learning side. So that's the exact thing in terms of the exchange between the explainability and the predictions accuracy. So let me to explain some of the methodologies. At this point, there are lots of classifications of the interpretable AI and the XAI methodologies when we take a look at the state of the arts of literature for the classifying the known methodologies of all of these things in this the scope of the XAI. But I liked this one from this source. As you can see, you may, by the way, take a look at the sources I'm listing here. Just let me know if whenever after even that the presentation, you are all welcome to reach to me out to be just I can be informing you about that and all of these sources I'm liking, and considering more in my presentations, webinars or seminars. So this seems like a good classification point here. So we have interpretable models, as I've said before, linear models, decision trees, rule-based methodologies like thinking about the fuzzy logic, for example, although it's not a machine learning technique. We all know that we have the rules, we have some of them, the falsified numbers or other things to be saying that's yes, because of this blah blah values from the input side, that the falsified values, we can be saying that this rule 1, rule 7, and rule n were triggered to reach to that blah blah outcome. So it's all interpretable. It's all enough to understand the exact things. The things are happening inside actually. That's, as you know, the machine learning and deep learning. But still, we can be accepting that the linear models, decision tree, KNN, or rule-based methodologies are in terms of the interpretable method sides. So when we reach to an XAI side, actually we just use the word of the post-hoc interpretation methods, which are just all classified into two groups of model-specific methods and model-agnostic methods, which means you need some specific methods for specific models. And as you may if I ask to you which technique or the machine learning technique you believe that can be a model specific, you may be just probably saying that it is the neural network. So you are, I would say you are total true. Thinking about especially neural network systems or models, we have model specific methodologies which you can only use for such these neural network models, not for the other machine learning or deep learning techniques. So we call such methodologies in terms of the model-specific methods, as you can see. But when we pass to a model-free, which means the model-agnostic methodologies, we have the such Lime or Shapley or other methodologies, as you can see. So this is an exact classification for now to be an understanding which methodologies are applied somehow in a specific way or in terms of the data or model sites. So I will talking about that CAM, Lime, Shapley in the next slides, but I will be coming back to this slide soon to be just completing my overviews in terms of all of these methodologies. Yeah, for example, when we take a look at to that linear regression again, as I already said in some slides ago, we have the dependent variable. As you know, we have the independent variables, which are just all weighted with the coefficients. As you know, after a specific training phase, we have the residuals and we have the intercepts, as you can see. And so by taking a look at to that coefficients, we can be understanding how each of the independent variable has importance in terms of them as sample, for example, in terms of a specific outcome, or just thinking about an average accuracy or average, I mean, not accuracy, average error, I mean, talking about the regression models, of course. But if you take a look at the logistic regression soon, we can be just try to understand how each of these variables are affecting the outcome levels, of course. So, of course, just taking a look at to that the coefficients is not enough for somehow for the interpretability. For the interpretability, we can be moving towards some outcomes of statistics in detail. For example, you may know about that R-square. R-square is a good point for them understanding how your all the outcomes are covering enough about that the variance factor in terms of all your whole data. So by thinking about that the squared sum of the error terms, like thinking about the squared sum of the squared the values of that and difference between the actual values and the predicted values, you just somehow reach to a square sum of the error terms. And also you have the square sum of the data variance. So by using these things under this equation, you reach to an R-square value. But this is again not enough, because the more you data adds to your data samples, the more you are able to increase the rate of the R-square. The R-square means the higher value you have, the R-squared value, the more you have just are able to say that, yes, my data has enough effect or coverage to ensure to meet with all different variance points in terms of the target problem, talking briefly. But this is not enough when you talk about that the more data addition. So we just adjust this equation to then adjusted R-squared, which just all have some additional parameters, like talking about the feature, total number of features here, called as the P here, and the total samples, as you can see. So by using these adjusted parameters, the added data is not affecting the way of the R-squared. So we just take a look at the adjusted R-squared value to be understanding how our whole data is enough for all possible outcomes in terms of our target problem. And in terms of the feature importance, talking about that each of the coefficients, of course, we just take a look at the coefficients, which are divided into the standard errors of them, of course. And this is the T statistics, as you know. And the more weights we have, the more we can be understanding that then such coefficient or such that's the feature or variable here has a higher importance in terms of the target outcomes. But the more value we get here means that then it has less importance. It doesn't mean that it has some problems. It means that it has less importance. So you are all free to eliminate it from your data, I mean. So let me to show you a sample at this point here. I all made the Python things ready for you. Here, let me to view this one. For example, it's all about that the Python side. I'm just not talking about the details, but we have the pandas and the matplots, pyplot here to be just reflecting the enough interpretive aspects here. And I will be also using the stats model from the Python library, which means that you are able to ensure some statistical summaries in terms of your outcome here. It's a sample problem actually, dear friends. I just think about that this is the visa, this is the final grades, these are the visa grades, and these are all the visa grades have them 40 percentage effects in terms of the success grade here. I mean U, and the final grades have done 60 percentage effects in terms of the, and you just sum the 40 percentage of X1 and the 60 percentage of the final to reach these outcomes. So let's try. It's a very simple problem. As you can see, I'm passing to all the other details. I run this code, and it's totals here, like with the code from the line 27. It already shows me that then first coefficient is 0.4, which means 40 percentage, and the other one is 0.6, as you can see, and the model score is 100 percentage. It means that it's very simple, as you know. So when we look at to the line of 44, we can be all seeing that then adjusted R squared is just all 1, which means that the all data is covering enough the outcomes here, as you can see. And we also have the, as you can see, the coefficients listed here. We can understand that then because the p-values are 0, we can understand that then these both of these the features variables are effective enough to be just reaching to the outcome of u, the dependent variable. There are some other things, but I'm passing them to use my time better. For example, when we just change something here, just let's eliminate the 1, 0 here. When you just play again that this code, as you can see, the rate of the adjusted R squared is decreased. That means your data is not covering enough about that just the related data here at this point, which means you need to, maybe it's not a bad value, of course, but you may be considering that there are some data samples you may be thinking about. I don't know, it's good value, but if you have somehow maybe around 50 or something like this, you may be thinking that almost half of your data is not enough to be trustworthy about to reaching to a trustworthy decisions in terms of the linear regression model side. I mean, this is something like this. Just let me to play somehow more here. I'm just adding a new variable here and giving some strange values, as you can see, just deleting something here. Let's make this one. I'm also, of course, need to changing some parts for the Python. I think it's all okay. When we play again this one, as you can see, this is the nuts. This is the same value because of affected by this rate. But when we take a look at the p-value of the third variable here, as you can see, it's having a high p-value, which means that you are all free to eliminate this feature from your outcome. So you do not need to use this X3 anymore, I mean. So it's a good point to be understanding this, the basic statistics in terms of interpretability. I'm showing you another thing. Why it's not works? I think it's because of the edit things. Sorry, let's delete things I have added later. Let's run that again. Yeah, this is then a basic Python code. So it's causing that then how each of the that features are affecting that how they have the importance in terms of your outcome. As you can see, that's the 0.4 and 0.6 are all available here. It's basic, but you can all adapt, manipulate this code to be reaching to wider problems such that they are medical problems. Okay, anyway, I'm continuing, dear friends. So when we move to the logistic regression, it's all headache for reaching to them just somehow then interpretability still, not explainability, but still trying to ensure interpretability. Actually, it's not very difficult, of course, but as you know, we just use the logistic function to be manipulating the exact linear regression. And at this point, we need to act differently because the sum of that all of weights are not linearly affecting the outcome. These are all affecting the probability of the outcome, as you know. So we need to use lean or logarithmic openings to reach into some odds and using the exponential function because these are all giving you the opportunity to see how each of the variable feature may affect the probability of the outcome when they are increased by 1 unit. So this is the transformation. I'm passing this fast, but if you have any questions later, we can take a look at to this one. So we reached an exponential outcome of each of the coefficients to determine the feature importance in case of the logistic regression. I'm passing to the Python side again. This is all about that breast cancer data sets. It's just all about the classification of the benign and malignant the nodules, as you know, dear friends. So when we play this code by using the things I already showed in the slides, it's all giving you the enough feature importance outcome for each of the features. As you can see, there are already 10, I remember, the features here. And for example, the worst concavity or worst concave points, these three features I remember having the greatest feature importance in terms of the breast cancer data set here. I have also some here I remember maybe the coefficient rate. No, I didn't include it. So that's enough. That's enough to understand that feature importance. But later we will take a look at for this one in terms of the decision tree side. So this is the way here to be understanding the interpretability values or effects of the that simple that the related logistic regression model, as you can see. So after this one, we have decision tree, as you know. In decision tree, the Gini index is all affecting the way of the understanding the interpretability of each of the features, considering the outcomes in terms of your build decision tree models. I mean, for example, that was a sample like talking about the hiring or rejecting the candidates in a decision-making way, dear friends. So in terms of I think the past job experience, taking a look at that's the feature, you can be seeing that yes, if the one candidate has a less an experience less than 5 years, we can be saying that it will be he or she will be probably rejected. But we already have one, for example, probable outcome in terms of hired. So we cannot say that it's all that certain thing that he or she will be rejected. It's all similar for the other side, as you can see. So taking a look at the certification here, like being certificate or not certificate, we can both see that if somebody who just applied for this job, if he or she has not certified here, he or she will be totally rejected with a 100% probability here, as you can see by taking a look at the samples. So we can be saying that the feature on the right side has bigger Gini index here when we talk about that then interpretable aspects of the decision tree. Of course, there are some other things, but I'm giving an example here at this point. So it doesn't mean that then you cannot use this one. You are all using all of these ones. Both of features are used, of course. But when we take a look at the Gini index values here, as you can see, you are all able to see that 10 different Gini values means that how you can be trusting to different features. So it's then just how opening the doors to the interpretability level, talking about the decision tree. There are many things to be talking about, but I'm passing this one. So when we pass to the explainability side, we should be talking about model-specific things and the model-agnostic things. So this is my favorite one. Difference, it's all talking about that's done especially image data and image analysis, considering my research works based on the especially medical diagnosis, considering the medical image difference. So the class activation mapping has a nice logic on the background to be making your image outcomes explainable for the user side, which means that just think about that the latest, or not latest, just talking about the convolutional layers in terms of a CNN. You all have some filters applied, and after all filters are applied or some filters applied, you have some feature maps just showing the different, how can I say, X-rays of the input image data, as you know. Some of the filters can be detecting the face of the sky or just face of the dog or other parts, as you know. So we all have feature maps. But when we use the traditional fully connected layers, the non-traditional neural network, you just all flatten the feature maps to be feeding the fully connected neural network to be reaching to classes at the final site. But the guys in the literature just saw that it's just all going towards feeding the black box neural network, which is not enough for understanding how all of these medical, sorry, not medical, the image data, not only medical, I mean the image data is just reached to that the blah blah outcomes by ensuring some of the complex of the higher complexity of the different weights. So the researchers just came up with a different idea of that, including and global average pooling, which means that you just all include the different feature maps with their associated weight values to be located at class activation layer, I can say in this way, to be reaching directly to the class prediction. So that means that the higher rates, you may, for example, consider that there is a duck here, that this class is associated with the classification of the label with the label of the duck, for example. So we can be understanding that the activated pixels from the input with the related weight values are just all representing that's these classes with the higher weight values, which you can be just showing them with an heat map approach. So that means that something like this, different feature maps, there are different feature maps at this point. You have the weights for them because they are coming from the different feature maps layers from the latest convolutional layer. By the way, let me to say that you are just ensuring the connection with the latest convolutional layer, not the other ones before, but you build up the global average pooling here. So you use the weight values, you use the feature map values here, and you sum them to be reaching to a class point here, which is connected to this point. Of course, you have the values for the other classes, but they have less, of course, accuracy values, probability values, and with maybe some strange heat mappings. So you can be understanding exactly, talking about from the view of the human side, you can be saying that, yes, my CNN just take a look at to these pixels, to these regions, like just a doctor is examining an X-ray or a medical image, as you can see, just connecting to the medical side. you are all able to explain or having some trustworthy decision making by using the explainability point by using the heat maps, as you can see. So this is a very nice logic and different things happening in terms of then, especially image data. And there are different versions of that, then GradCam and AxiomCam and other things are happening to make it better in time. So you are all free to search for them in the literature reference, but the class activation mapping is the keyword here. So except from this, there is the layer-wise relevance propagation, which is model-specific again for the neural networks. So you apply something like a back propagation. You just all passing through and from the outcome data, outcome value, I mean, for each of the neurons at the the output layer. So coming back to the input neurons, you ensure some values for each of the inputs. So you are all able to, again, match some rates, just saying that, yes, there's a passenger car. The class point is just all done with the higher probability value at the output layer. Our neural network is saying that there is a passenger car here. So the red areas or the pixels with the indicated with the red values, maybe you can be using different colors to indicate that the less values have the more colors going towards the blue one, and the higher values have the red one, or you may be using the cam like heat map, I don't know. But in this way, this is a simple calculation going back to like a back propagation, not training purposes, by the way, just a reverse calculation. So in this way, for the multi-layer perceptron models, especially, you are all able to ensure some explanation interface for your input data. So after this, we just reached to a model agnostic methodologies, which means you can be all applying these things to different models, like deep learning models, like even interpretable models. You are all free to apply them to random forest, to KNN even. So you just take a look at to the data points here. So local interpretable model agnostic explanations, which means LIME is just a popular one for the supervised machine learning and deep learning. It just manipulates the input data to get a series of the artificial data, which contains only a part of the original attributes. So by using this data, the different labels are classified again, and according to the change between the classification change according to this artificial data and according to the original data, you ensure the importance of the specific features on the target classes here, all detectors, for example. So my Apple Watch, that series talking, sorry. And at this point, we have just a sample here. We have the original image. As you can see, it's all up to you. You can be having the interpretable components, like thinking about some segmentations here, or superpixels, applying superpixels here. So you have the original image. So you have perturbate instance, as you can see, just eliminating some parts from the original data. So you ensure that then there is the outcome of saying that there is a tree frog in this input image. So by combining this here with the locally weighted regression here, like think about linear regression here, you can be saying that yes, there is a probability rate of the 54 of that, say, just saying that then there is a tree frog in this input image. And these sections are just an explanation for this decision making. So as you can see, you are just using the higher probable values rates, not eliminating, actually just matching, or intersection of that and higher weight values are resulting to this one. So it is not only the image data, you can be all using the different types of data. And also you can be using such these things to then taking a look at then other outcomes, like saying that, for example, this is the decision, of course, from our neural network, for example, or model, whenever, whatever you are using. But you can be also checking that why my model just have some outcomes with like this rate, but why it's saying that there is a balloon in this outcome? So it says that I just saw this one. Because of this part, I'm saying that with that's very low probability value, I'm saying that there's a balloon here. So you can be even checking this. So you can be understanding which data may be vulnerable, or maybe somebody is trying to hacking your system to be understanding how to reach to and that's and better outcome at the final stage. So let's increase my speed. I'm talking too much. Sorry for that. This one. I'm passing to the medical side. The other thing is just about the Shapley editorial explanations. This is all coming from the cooperative game theory field. You just think that there are some features and you have some samples. You eliminate the specific features to see how the outcomes are changing. And for each sample, all of the sample, you just all all of these Shapley values, and you find the average of this Shapley value for a specific feature. So in this way, you are just all understanding how to understand the importance of a specific feature at this point. So there are many things here, difference. There are many things, so I just want you to check the hybrid models, of course, and check this publication. Let me to show you that I like this one, this paper by Arietta et al. This having a very nice overview. Of course, there are more recent paperworks. Maybe you maybe need to checking in the literature, but it's a nice to be showing some classifications in terms of the models and the other things. So it's one of my favorite papers to be checking here at this point. So I'm increasing my presentation speed difference. So thinking about enhancing the trustworthiness, we should be talking about the details, the reasons, transparency, and scope. And we should be matching to the human-computer interaction, actually. We should be talking about the human side to the user side to be understanding how we are reaching to the trustworthiness level here. Talking about details, the reasons we are applying the XAI or the transparency levels are all affecting the trust level, which means that how we trust to a specific model through to an XAI methodology, or which kinds of questions I'm able to ask to my system or to my model. So in this way, we need to be making a connection for tracking or detecting, talking about the cybersecurity. Like, for example, the data communication can be tracked in this way, or the data processing inside the machine learning or deep learning sites can be tracked in this way, or the detection of the vulnerabilities or fault or errors or AI hacks can be all detected or tracked in this way by taking a look at the XAI trust site or XAI outcomes. Of course, we should be having a balance between the human factor and the technology at this point. And for trust factor, we all have the explanations here for making human decisions made, and considering the medical side, the explanations lead to doctors, experts, or healthcare staff to make decisions at the final stage. Talking about the medical applications, I can be showing you some samples and talk briefly about my research here. For example, from a Nature Biomedical Engineering journal, there is a nice application of the CAM for using the DCNN and using the CAM for the showing the which parts that the model just considered in terms of the acute intracranial hemorrhage from the small data sets. There are some specific details, of course, but as you can see, the intracranial hemorrhage is just all detected because of these parts are just all absorbed from our model. They also provided a nice explanation, specific explanation, spatial explanation graphics here, just saying that which slides are just all having the highest importance in terms of the specific decision making at this point. Another paperwork here just have a visual case-based reasoning approach. It says somehow, I remember Lyme, I think so, according to taking a look at the feature rates, the values of the features, tumor size, or other things, it's just all supporting the decision making, why it's not decided to end. surgery, but decided to a chemotherapy for a cancer sample, for example. The interfaces are very important when we take a look at such research. And this is the decision tree sample. It's all about that CKD, the chronic kidney disease. And so just taking a look at the Gini index values here, it can be saying that, yes, I just detected the CKD because of the hemoglobin tests has such this value with such confidence value like this one. And actually the overview of the decision tree is also supports our interpretability, as you can see, dear friends. And they also provided an interface to allowing the people to play some values to be seeing how the system can be robust against the manipulations in terms of the decision makings, like giving a not realistic hemoglobin test value, how the system is acting at this point. It's also a critical point to be understanding these things inside the XAI part. And there is an LRP for the neural network to be ensuring some heat map for the gate recognition, as you can see. And this XAI is even used for then the relevant GAN expressions by ensuring the connections with the weight values. I remember for this paperwork. This is another layer-wise LRP play, as you can see. So taking a look at my publications with my some colleagues. For example, we have a work with an CNN applied to an glaucoma diagnosis. We have the image processing aspects, and we applied the CAM at the final stage, as you can see. And it's another aspects here. I'm also following that, and I applied then experts to be passing through to a test case, which includes we show samples to the experts, to doctors, to be wanting them to be saying that is there a glaucoma or not for a specific image, and just use a specific software to place the regions, to point the regions because of your, so leading to your decision making here. So also for the eliminating the ordering effect, we are showing the black screen for 10 seconds. So in this way, after they point to things like they are using a Photoshop or somehow just placing the regions like what was the lasso tool in the Photoshop, we are matching the pixels with the CAM site, so ensuring that yes, our CAM outcomes are having near or just a high accuracy by matching the accuracy rate somehow with the pixels the doctors indicated or pointed, or just used the lasso tool here. So we are just reaching to and how our CAM is successful enough to be showing the exact places in terms of the CAM sites. And it's another different work on top. I placed some of the segmentation like work to be using some rate values over the heat maps. I don't know if it's all published in nice work, but it's just expanding the heat map outcomes with the rates, showing that yes, this region has the more intensity of that, then there is a tumor here with such value here, and the less values in terms of the detected areas, observed areas are something like this. So it can be helping. We believe that all of these things can be helping the doctors to be an expanding of the capabilities of the CAM. And another work, I liked this one, published in the ACM Tom. We applied the similar things like the glaucoma to the brain tumor. With them, it's a long story. Started with a lightweight CNN for the brain tumor diagnosis, and will lead to an XAI and evaluations with the experts, doctors, to be reaching to a good, nice work here, as you can see. And we also have drug discovery works with my PhD student I co-supervised. As you can see, for the drug repurposing, we just all have the line applied for the showing the different feature importance of the drug molecules matched with the target disease, like think about the Friedreich's ataxia. And as you can see, there are other works. Because of the limited time, I'm just passing these things, but you are all free to ask me any of your questions. I can be showing to Python example if you need to have a real-time example for this such distinct difference. And another work with my PhD students graduated, it's all about that childhood acute leukemia. A similar thing, but with another drug sets and the molecular and protein interactions, as you can see. So we understand that, yes, we detected these drugs, but because of this importance of the molecule. So we can detect that if there are something strange here, not associated with the exact this drug, we can be saying that, yes, it's not a trustworthy decision making. We should be repeating our research or repeating something again or checking the data. That is the way of the XAI. So a currently funded Kubitak project, we all combined different things. I mean that it's a long story with a decision support system for the digital twin oriented drug repositions or drug repurposing for the deep learning decision making with the synthetic patients. But it all has then some computational modeling, graph neural networks, and generative AI at the final stage to support the regulation of the GNN outcomes. So it's a very complex system, but we'll be all trying to integrate the different explainable aspects, like thinking about the drug repurposing aspects with the line or Shapley, as you can see, or thinking about the GNN, we may be applying then XAI for the regulation-oriented GNN. From my best of my knowledge, there is only one paper so far. I should take a look at again, but there's only one paper which tried or applied or successfully applied, I mean, an XAI for then regression-based GNN, regression-based. So let's see, we will all apply these things and we will all completing this the funded project with everything to an opening to everything to an explainability interface to the user side to support this complete system. So the TÜBİTAK, by the way, is the NSF of Turkey. So with that funded project, we believe that and it will be a nice contribution. But there are many things to talk about this, but meaning of connecting with my presentation, the things happening inside mechanisms are should be needed to be reflected to the user side through XAI, as you can see. So what to do with XAI for AI-based medical systems? Every AI-based medical application should have XAI interface, I believe. And both model-specific and agnostic methods should be used at the same time because you all deal with not only data, also deal with the model. So you should be using both of these things to be controlling the trust level and possible cybersecurity problems, taking a look at to the data and to the model you are using. So XAI should be real-time management framework, of course, depending on the problem, but you should be all going to a real-time management. And there should be regulations and user evaluations for all AI-based medical systems before passing to the marketplace. And certifications, regular tests, and users reports by using simple XAI tools like my watch told and showed me some interface, for example. So it's all understanding that I told that it caught my voice, so it shows something. So I'm seeing something from the interface. Again, it's catching by the way. So I'm understanding how all of these things are happening from the point of view of the XAI. And users should have enough control to report something to the companies or to the regulation guys to be making the things are having enough trustworthiness in terms of the applied all of these technologies, not only medical side, but everything. But when we talk about the medical side, it's a critical area. We talk about the medical image, just an automated thing, just using a medical image and coming to an immediate decision making, but we don't know exactly how it's just reaching to such decision making. So it's very critical thing. It's a very thin line between the saying somebody just you need chemotherapy or not, or you need some drugs or not. So it's a very critical point. So the specific XAI regulations may be applied to different data types at this point of difference. I'm almost there. So we should be thinking about the ML, DL, expert knowledge, and experience, of course, thinking about the private sector sides, about the developers, about the academicians or researchers. So that is also another exact point we need to be caring about. So there are also other research potentials. For example, there are adversarial examples. It's again another story actually. So I may be giving another webinar, dear Dr. Prakash and dear friends, C2SR team, talking about the medical AI and threats by the adversarial examples. It's a nice topic. So because you locate only one pixel to be making your system to be detecting a dog as a cat, for example, or manipulating something with just a bank of noise to be manipulating the decision making at the final stage, talking about both classification and regression. And it's a very trendy flow in terms of the literature view. So why I am talking about this point? Because by using XAI and interpretable methodologies, you are all able to having some early alerts for such problems or detecting something happening strange in terms of your data or models. So there are lots of other things, of course, defensive methodologies or other things, of course, but talking about XAI, the current today's topic, we can be just making connections to these sites. Everybody dealing with such research works are interested in these things. So the XAI is one way to be thinking about further research. There's even adversarial transformation networks, which are hacking AI, actually, AI hacker systems, networks, which are providing you some data which you cannot understand from the human view, but you can be using some XAI or other things to be detecting this is an adversarial sample and vulnerable data, data causing vulnerabilities or um, just malicious data, I mean. So this is one point to be and one reason to be using the XAI. And medical users characteristics are important. Data is very critical at this point. And also, we should be talking about which ML or data to combine for the XAI of medical problems specifically. But I think you already felt that such these research potentials can be connected to different areas. So I believe my presentation has been useful for not only for the researchers in the medical side, but also everybody, I mean, dear friends. So there are many things, the target problem, the performance. For example, we are applying these XI things, but it costs you some performance evaluations. Even talking about my publication with my colleagues in the ACM Tom, for example, we used and lightweight CNN, but it's a different thing that you try to, by using the lightweight CNN, you think about the performance and the lightweight model to be ensuring a good performing system. But when you add the CAM, you move against the performance actually. But it's a balance between the performance and the use of the XAI to keeping a performance and the XAI opening. So it can be somehow something useful to be just increasing a performance a little more, maybe. I mean, the running time period a little more, maybe, but still going to still the same performance value, but making your system more trustworthy. So it's an important thing. I think you should be all having a balance between such these things. And the big data, image data, multimodal data, problems in medical subfields, ethical issues, thinking about the data privacy. Maybe you need to use some inside things from the data. It is a required thing to make your XAI methodology to be working. But I don't know if the GDPR or other things, the regulations, or thinking about the Turkish side, KVKK, the guys from Turkey knows that it's a regulation in Turkey. Or the regulations in USA, European side, other countries, you should be all having the enough balance again, thinking about the transparency, data privacy, and use of the XAI. At the final stage, you need to probably to be using some data, and you need to have some allowance from patients, maybe with some paperwork. I don't know. So that's another research problem. And there are social impacts or other things. So it's all having a very nice research potentials. So this is the another point here. So at the final, I can be giving also some suggestions. Sorry for taking your many times. So thanks for the patience. I appreciate that, by the way, dear friends. So at the final, for everybody covering, especially students, I suggest you to learn about the mathematics and the statistics relation with the XAI. As you can see, there are many things in terms of the mathematics and logics on the background. And the current era of the AI is happening throughout the neural networks. As you feel, there are CMS networks like the one-shot learning, few-shot learning. It's a very strange thing. There are generative adversarial networks, generative AI, LLMs, thinking about the ChatGPT and other things, Gemini or other things, as you know. So we need some XAI things for these things. So I believe you should be all thinking about explaining these the new models of the neural networks, upcoming models, or maybe. So it's an important point here. And developing XAI framework for multimodal data problems like the project, the funded our project, like we have a modular system, but you should be having the enough coverage of the XAI framework to be explaining everything from your system. So by eliminating the intersections or some issues when you apply the maybe different kinds of XAI to the same data, or some of the parts of the data are having an intersection at this point, maybe causing some problems in technical and maybe mathematical or the logical manner. So you should be also thinking about these things. And the medical robotic systems, another story. Again, at this point, so you should be thinking about this point. As you can see, I applied some trust evaluations with the human side. I see that there are some trends nowadays, but I think after developing your XAI models, or after even you have to develop something, not having XAI, even, dear friends, you need to, I think, apply some human machine or human AI or human computer based usability evaluations or trust evaluations. This should be a requirement, I believe, in terms of even that the marketplace funding agencies or maybe journals, I don't know, but the trust evaluations are somehow a required thing. Maybe that the recent regulations may be triggering such these things. I don't know. Let's see. But I like the trust evaluation actually, or the evaluations with the users. In my publications, if you check, I always often, I mean, go with these things. So it's good because AI is our products which may be having somehow potentials in terms of AGI or ASI, I mean general intelligence or super intelligence, having a potential to be generating its own AI maybe in the far future or near future, I don't know. So we need somehow a human contribution by evaluating such these things. So it's a nice thing I highly suggest to you. So study on XAI for drug discovery and genomics is important because these topics are very critical nowadays. And I suggest you to examine the characteristics of model agnostic XI methods on different ML-DL models. I believe you already think about this thing now, but these are my kind suggestions to you. Yes. Thank you very much for joining and listening to me. Your questions are all welcome to be seeing them. I'm stopping my sharing. By the way, you can be seeing my email addresses and my website. You are all welcome to send me your questions after this presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Utku. Great presentation. We do have a few questions in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Dr. Kua commented, a black box approach in AI has long been a limitation in adoption of medical devices due to concerns of reliability. I really think that XAI is a good approach to help improve adoption, especially from a regulatory point of view. Can you just comment what kind of effect do you think the methods you presented would have on increasing adoption from a regulatory point of view, or are we not there yet? And if not, what needs to be done?
Yeah. For example, when we think about, by the way, I appreciate the valuable feedback by Dr. Kuhar from the biomedical engineering. I met with him, so it's a very valuable feedback, by the way, from the point of view of that and also medical sites at this point. So the concerns of reliability is very critical here, even when we talk about that new problems so we'll be facing soon. So exactly when we think about whether it's a medical device, whether it's somehow some software or hardware things on the background, we have some connections still in terms of the data processing or the data relations. So we still have then, like just using as an example of that, the model agnostic methodologies, we still have enough capability to catch the data during the flow. Just thinking about from the perspective of human in the loop, I believe at this point, we still have a chance to control the data inside the system to be having done enough interpretability or explainability capabilities here. But of course, we need to have some preparations for them possible problems. Of course, some possible problems are all such possible problems are all affected by the things we are triggering. I mean that we have some knowledge, we apply this knowledge data samples to the further the ML or DL models. So we already actually have somehow preparations in terms of the data point. So if we are not able to apply somehow, for example, a CAM or other things, we still have a chance to control some algorithms or locate some additional algorithms to control the data flow. So I believe that can be a good way to locate some, like this, how can I say, just think about you have a system like medical devices or a general diagnosis system, a framework, you have some APIs. It's a needed thing because you use different technologies and you need to maybe communicate the different modules with APIs. So maybe at the point of the API communication, you can be locating some interpretable or XAI methodologies to understand how the outcomes or the input outcomes relations of the previous model is just can be evaluated from the point of view of the interpretability. That can be a good point, yeah.
Okay, and then in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you the last two questions at the same time. How do we evaluate the effectiveness of these explainable AI methods? And when it comes to Lyme and SHAP, which one is the most useful and why?
By the way, let me to say that I cannot remember if I say it or not, but I believe you, dear participants, already caught this point, specific point. The Lyme has the local interpretability. By the way, I didn't show you that's enough because of the enough not having the enough time. I didn't show you enough. I mean the outcome, but let me to play this one very shortly. For example, thinking about the Lyme, it's all about the local interpretability, which means you apply an interpretability for a specific samples. That means you need to apply this thing to a specific sample, one sample. So saying that, yes, the sample having the index value of 10 have this outcome. So these features, input features, have positive importance contribution to this outcome. So this one has negative contribution, and even positive contributions differs, as you can see. So this is about only the samples. But when we pass to the Shapley, let me to show you in this way. It's a good opportunity to show the other codes I prepared here. So the Shapley is all about giving you the opportunity to take a look at the all samples here. So if you want to take a look at the all samples and the general picture of the how that the different features. This is, by the way, about the diabetes. As you can see, age, BMI, other things are appearing here. As you can see, BMI have a great importance here. If anybody has any question about this, I can be answering, of course, but because of the limited time, I'm passing this one. So this is all about the general, as you can see, the data. So it's all up to you. Both of things are very useful, but if you want to check sample-wise control or XAI opening, interpretable opening in your data, you may be using the LIME, or you can be using Shapley for a general picture of your data. I think I believe you need to use both of them. And when we think about that evaluation point, as you can see, there is a still open gap, as you can see from my publications. I mean, you of course compare some methodologies by using some metrics, like how can I say, like checking the feature importance. You have some feature importance points from the human side. You are saying that yes, this feature has blah blah importance, the other one has having somehow such importance. So according to the outcomes from your XAI or interpretable model, you can be saying that there is a difference between the model and our overview. So you can compare different XAI methodologies from this perspective to be saying that we actually desired this thing, but our XAI method 1 resulted to this one, but the method 2 resulted to this one. So we can be saying the method 2 is better than the method 1. But this is the point, like you are using the, how can I say, confusion matrix or other known evaluation matrix, just playing with the numbers, I mean. But I think there is a research gap in terms of the human factor. You need to apply the human side, human evaluations. So it's an open thing, like usability evaluations, like before-after tests, or like interviews, surveys, and combination them and taking a look at the validations throughout statistical methods. I think these are the things you need to apply. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Utku. Receiving a plaque for contributing to our webinar for the Center of Cybersecurity.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Great to have you.
Looking forward to further webinars. So I would like to also thanks to Dr. Prakash Ranganathan, dear friends, dear team, dear Jameson, to everybody from the C2SR for joining to my session. And I congratulate, it's a very growing and C2SR webinar series. I'd like to highly recommend to everybody joining to this session to follow the YouTube channel for these webinar sessions. And I'm looking forward to having a new one in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Yep. Bye.